Tapping in.
Are we live?
Come on,
that's you, big homie.
Listen. What we've got content for days today, man. We got content for days. Thank you to absolutely everybody rocking us with us this far into the show. We see the live audience in. Please be sure to make sure that you comment in the comment section and have your comment read out on the show. Yeah, listen, man. Giving people more information. This is the current news section. It turns out that Disneyland is its own government. Mickey Mouse is the president. Florida wants to get him out of there because Disneyland hates gays. Miles, make sense of it all.
Dun, dun. This is definitely a Law and Order episode of the All the Way Live podcast. The All the Way Law and Order show. Check this out, man. The government versus Mickey Mouse. This story hits home for me, man, because I know a lot about Disney World. I have a lot of Disney World information in my head, and I learned a lot about Disney researching for this topic. But this one is wild to me, man. Did you grow like how involved was Disney in your childhood?
Not so involved. I've been at Disney World once. It's quite incredible. But I know you're a Disneyland kid. You're a Disneyland kid. I mean, as much as Disney Channel, you know Disney Channel. I'm more of a Cartoon Network guy myself, if I'm being more honest. But Disney Channel came a bit later, and that's my extent to it. But as far as Disney World, been there once, dug it. It's nice, cool place. Lines super long, food way too expensive.
Big facts, man. It's just Disney was like I was a Lion King, Hercules. That was as a little kid, those was my joints. I had the VHSs, and on the VHS tapes, I'm gonna date myself, but some of y'all gonna remember what I'm talking about. On the VHS tapes, they used to have a commercial for Disney World where it'd be two kids in the bed, little white kids that wake up out they sleep, and it'd be the day before they was going to Disney World, and that was the littest situation ever.
Those kids were excited, son.
Bro, fam. So, like, for Disney as an adult to be in the pickles that it's in right now, to be looking at these companies through the lens of social issues and through politics, it makes me wonder, like, was it always this wild? Like, were our parents and grandparents, were they looking at the institutions that they like saw as kids and like crumble and fracture and be like, because we have we have a lot of access to see some wild stuff happen with the companies that raised us.
Companies, cultural figures, icons, idols. No one is safe. No one is safe. Even Disney World, no one is safe. Disney World turns out are quite duplicitous in the way. Shout out to Hassan for the YouTube community looking at the South Park on the show. Yeah, man. So what have we been learning over some time is that Disneyland actually, through regulations, has been able to isolate itself within Florida to become essentially its own governing country. So Disneyland is in fact its own governing country. This was done almost 50 years ago with the creation of Reedy Creek. Reedy Creek is the plot of area that Disneyland stays in. What's the hype about Reedy Creek, and why is it so important to this story?
Well, it's important to the story because there's being your own government, spoiler alert, has a lot of political implications. But it's also it's a move that Disney made to be able to kind of govern how things are done around Disney World, which has led to a lot of crazy stories about Disney, like the fact that they don't let anybody die in the parks, right? You hurt, they carry you out of there. They can't declare you dead until you're out of Disney World because nobody is allowed to die on the happiest place.
I did not know that. That is nuts. Wasn't there a girl that got ate by an alligator a few months ago at Disney a few years ago?
It's happened, man. It's happened. I know a lot of crazy. I used to date this chick that was obsessed with Disney World. I think she was angling for a very expensive date. But I know a lot of ridiculous facts about Disney World. Like you used to be able to take a night tour of Animal Kingdom. They used to serve you beer. You used to get like an African themed meal in the middle of the night at Animal Kingdom. You know what I'm saying? Bring that back. But anyway, it has a lot of political implications for them to be able to run their own government. Essentially, like, and they doing it, fam. They doing it. They got their own sewage going. They pipe in their own electricity, their own water systems. They built their own roads. They got their own fire department. They got their own medical emergency services. They don't have their own police, right? They still rely on county police and highway patrol to make arrests. But they are responsible for a lot of the public services that are administered in the area of Florida where Disneyland or Disney World is. And they also get to a big part of why they wanted to do it because they don't want to wait in line and have to employ a whole bunch of lawyers every time they want to do something that involves zoning or other regulations. So they get to circumnavigate that, and then they hold down the bill for the area around Disney World.
A big part of that reasoning is also to control the neighbors that come around Disney World. Now, if you got the happiest place on earth, the last thing you need is noisy neighbors next door to you. So part of Reedy Creek was to allow Disney, like my brother has said, to expand quite quickly in the construction of this metropolis that they wanted to be able to create, skating past regulations and lawyers, and being able to create, but also being able to control some of the neighbors that are around Disney and keeping it tight. Now, some of what that has allowed, obviously, is there's been some tax incentives that Disney has been able to benefit from because of Reedy Creek, to the tune of almost $10 million a year in taxes is not going towards the federal income tax side because Disney is considered its own federation, its own government, so they don't have to pay that federal income tax, $10 million. Now, what that would mean if Reedy Creek now, because the battle that Disney's having with the state of Florida is to be able to remove that privilege from them, they'd be set to having to pay this bill. But that being said, Disney goes, but wait. Like every other state, we also have some bond debt that we hold on to. So as a state operates and it accumulates debt, they don't always have to off-pay that debt immediately. They can transfer that debt into the construction of other things, whatever the case. Disney has almost $1 billion in state bond debt that they're holding on to. And they say, if you guys want to get us out, everybody got to share this bill. Everybody got to share this bill.
But wait a minute, Zway. We're talking about the mouse, man. The mouse that's the real household name. The mouse is in every house, man. It's a beloved character, a beloved company. Why would Florida want to kick the mouse out his house, man?
You see, Florida is not trying to kick the mouse out the house, but the mouse is playing rat tricks right now. Is what's going on. The mouse is playing rat tricks. That's so ridiculous. A bigger criticism on Disney that I see that is more relevant is in what their support is, what they're pandering towards China and their relationship towards China and making sure that all content is skewed towards the preferencing of Chinese content and that type of thing. I'm not the biggest fan of. This particular instance with Disney being given its own government, hey y'all made this bed, y'all gotta lay in it. Y'all gave them the access.
Yeah, but I think we got to talk about why Florida is now saying, nah, y'all can't be your own government no more.
I heard it's because Disney don't like gay folk.
I think you heard wrong. I think it's because Florida don't like gay folk.
Oh, my bad.
Or Florida at least passed the Don't Say Gay bill. And at first, Disney was crickets, right? Disney was like, hey, right? Then it came out that Disney had funded some of the politicians that were behind the Don't Say Gay bill, and a whole bunch of the cast members. That's what Disney calls its employees, cast members. A whole bunch of the cast members got together in protest to say, hey man, we don't want to support this company that's paying politicians that are supporting this bill, the Don't Say Gay bill, right? So then Disney was like, oh yeah, that's right. We support all the gays and the LGBTQI plus community. And then the government of Florida was like, oh yeah, y'all support the gays, even though we passed this bill. Well, y'all don't get to be your own government no more. We gonna take your land. And I think that's why we at where we at.
I think then my entire approach to this research has been wrong, y'all. I've been labeling Disney as the as a charitable company, I got some notes that I gotta edit over here.
Hey man, that's what we do, man. That's what we do is we get to the root of it. And so to even like kind of expound a little bit on, so basically what the Don't Say Gay bill is it limits teachers in schools from even saying, talking about LGBTQ plus issues in the classroom until children are in third grade, right? Um, how you feel about that? You know, that's one conversation. Whether a company's stance on a political issue like that should warrant, or whether it should be possible for a government to say, "Oh, y'all don't agree with us? I bet we taking away your political privileges." Should they have had those privileges in the first place? I think those are the back and forths of where this conversation is like kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's not cool. It's not cool the fact that Disney obviously in support of the freedom of expression is being penalized in this matter. But that being said, it does point more towards something that companies and organizations in the US get to get away with a lot, which is tax evasion. About the Don't Say Gay bill, check out our episodes. Go on to our YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, wherever podcast it drops, and check out our full length episode on Don't Say Gay. I think we covered it quite well, if you ask me. That being said, large companies are skating past taxes. So 55 of the largest companies within the US did not pay federal income tax in 2021, which means that this does not necessarily mean that they don't pay any taxes at all, but just the federal income tax. Now, this is due to smart accounting between book balance and accounting balances, where on the book side, you can say we made all this money, share it to your shareholders. And then on the accounting side to the government, you go, we actually spent all that money and technically we didn't make a profit. So you cannot, in fact, tax us. Now, that costs the US government about $10 billion a year. $10 billion a year. I'm torn between that because as a business owner, I'm constantly looking for different ways to be able to minimize the taxes that I pay. So there's a bit of a conflict of interest with at what point does that become something that you stop striving for as a business, and at what point it becomes detrimental to who's supposed to be getting those taxes. I don't get a $10 billion tax bill, but if I was, I'd definitely look for ways to be able to make that less than 10.
I mean, I think we're all looking for a break in a system that doesn't make making it easy on any of us. But I think there's a big difference, and we are able to differentiate between those of us who are the Zways of the world trying to put together and incorporate a small business or a small enterprise with the homies and trying to turn a profit versus a company like Disney, which has decades and decades of making millions and millions of dollars. So, and I think that applies both to the ways that we regulate and to the way that we tax. I think it's really interesting to see these pressures as information becomes more available to people, right? We start to have these conversations about what we're willing to allow companies to do and the power that we're willing to allow them to have and the responsibility that they have, man. My man Bob Chapek, who's the CEO of Disney, can't win right now because he was late to comment on the issue in the first place, and then when he does comment, he's angered an entire other side of people who are for the bill that they were silent on in the first place. And it kind of brings back to the question, what responsibility do companies have to us? Do CEOs have to be human rights leaders, right? Do they have a choice?
It's the same question that goes for athletes. Do we expect our athletes to be human rights activists as well? I think, man, that if you care about something and you are very passionate about a cause, then by all means, there's no greater feeling than being able to support that financially and through your organization or whatever the case. And something like protesting against the Don't Say Gay bill is something that I can't necessarily be mad at, because at the end of the day, it looks to open up for inclusivity and self-expression. So off of that, do CEOs need to be outspoken activists? I'm an outspoken activist CEO. Where y'all at?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I think because of all the success that I wish you, I think at a certain point, hopefully you will be making billions of dollars and you'll have to, make a decision about how that wealth is going to be distributed, and the practices, or even on your way to that point, the practices that you're willing to allow to happen under your corporation, your business, your watch, that'll get you there. But it's also interesting. Like, I think we're in a space where people just can't ride the fence no more. You just can't. You like That's what we're doing to each other. Is where we're forcing these political conversations to happen in the open. And as much as it's ugly, and as much as there's misinformation that's swirling, and people are, you know, are at the odds in a way that they haven't been in a long time. You can't. I think as a corporation, you got to be like Ben and Jerry's. We know where Ben and Jerry stand. They take they stand on their issues. They stay consistent with it. They take the people that are not going to rock with them, and they continue to rock with the people that are in alignment with their stance. And I think if you're a corporation like Disney, especially one that targets the vast majority of its content towards children, you got to figure out what your company stance is, and you got to stay that. You got to stick with that, right? All this flip flopping is clearly just going to lose you people on both sides. So to me, that's where it is. You got to be able to stand for what you believe in and be willing to face the consequences.